Hey everyone, it's Laura here from makingcardsisfun.com, and it's time for another Saturday STEM Day card and video. Today's card is inspired by two things. The first thing that really inspired me is this glass over here, and I use it in my craft room when I paint. And then the second thing that inspired me is actually a card made by Joni and Dea. And I just really love the colors and the flower pattern, and as you can see, the colors and this flower pattern were also in this glass, and then I just saw these two things together and they really inspired me to make a card. Okay, so I'm going to start out with this piece of white Neenah cardstock that I cut to 3 1/4 inch by 2 1/2. So I'm just going to stamp some flowers first, and I'm going to use the Life is a Journey stamp set by Simon Says Stamp, and I just really love these little flowers. This stamp set has been always a favorite of mine, and it was once included in a card kit. So I'm going to stamp the biggest flower first, and I'm going to use Algae Blue ink by Simon Says Stamp. This is just a really gorgeous blue aqua color. It's very vibrant as well, and just really like it. Okay, so I'm going to stamp it over here, and then I'm going to stamp a couple of these smaller flowers. So I'm just randomly stamping them. Okay. Then I'm going to stamp the smaller flower. And I'm also going to do some of this ghost stamping. I learned this from one of Jennifer Maguire's video. So you first have to just stamp your flower. So I'm going to stamp it, and then just directly stamp it again without re-inking your stamp, and then you just get this like really soft color. So you actually get like 2 colors for the price of 1, which is really great. Just going to do that a couple of times. To stamp some leaves just to give it more of a finished look. So I'm first going to stamp the biggest leaf, and I'm going to use Green Hills ink by Hero Arts. So I'm just stamping it right over here. Then I'm going to use a smaller leaf as well. Okay. Then I'm going to use their super small leaf. Okay, so now I'm going to use a stencil to give this just a little bit more of a special look, and I'm going to use the Stripe Columns stencil by Simon Says Stamp. As you can see, I now store all my stencils in these little pockets, and I will show you I will just show you everything in my craft room tour video, and that video will be going up on my YouTube channel on Monday. Okay, so I'm just going to temporarily adhere the stencil with some washi tape. You can also use like post-it tape or regular sticky tape. You can really use whatever you have on hand. Okay, I'm going to use Ice Spruce Distress ink by Tim Holtz, but I'm only going to add this very, very lightly. So I have a piece of scrap paper next to me, so I can just add some ink on the paper so that it would be lighter on the stamp piece. So I'm going to add some ink on my ink blending tool, and then I'm first going to just remove some of the ink on this piece of scrap paper, and then I'm going to add the color on the stamped piece of paper. Okay, so now I'm going to remove my stencil, and I hope this worked out a little bit because it's the first time that I tried this. Okay. Yes. Okay, I'm happy with the result. It's worked out. So and now it looks like the flowers and the leaves are behind the stripes, which I think is just a cool effect. And actually that piece was inspired by a dress I saw in a TV series. It's a daily soap that my mom and I watch, and someone was just wearing a dress with like black stripes and then flowers behind them, and I just thought, well, it's so cool. And I told my mom, and she said, well, maybe you need to make a card inspired by that. And well, so now I did. Okay, so this is the Shine Mr. Huey's Color Spray by Studio Calico. And I'm just going to add a little bit of sparkle. So I'm going to spray it. There we go. Over here I have a little piece of Audrey Blue cardstock by Simon Says Stamp. And I'm going to stamp this friend greeting on there. And this stamp set is by Winnie and Walter, and it's called The Big, the Bold and the Happy. So first I'm going to add a little bit of flour. Because we're going to do some embossing, and I just don't want that the embossing powder clings to my paper. So I'm adding a tiny bit of flour. And then I'm going to ink up my stamp using Versamark. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp it right here. Then I'm using tweezers to pick it up. Okay, and I'm going to use some silver metallic embossing powder by Wow. Just going to sprinkle it on. And then I'm going to heat set it with my heat gun. I'm also going to use some flour to make sure that the embossing powder won't stick. Okay. Now I'm using the Hello Greeting from the Winnie and Walter stamp set. Okay, I'm going to ink up my stamp with Versamark ink again. And there we go. And then again I'm going to sprinkle it with the silver metallic embossing powder by Wow. Okay, now I'm going to heat set it. Some dimensional adhesive to adhere the front piece onto the flower stamp piece. And there we go. And I'm just going to add a little bit more of sparkle on these little flowers. So I'm going to use my clear wink of Stella pen. Okay, so over here I have another piece, just have a piece of white watercolor paper, and this is not by Simon Says Stamp, but this is actually some old paper that I found, and I just tried it out with some watercolors because I was just testing something, and I actually found out that this paper really works great with water as well, but again it's really old, so I actually really don't remember where I got it. I have it for years. Okay, so I'm going to use Iced Spruce Distress Ink by Tim Holtz again. Just going to press the ink pad onto my work surface, and then I have this glass that helped me with these cards. It inspired me to make these cards, and I'm going to use a paintbrush, and then I'm going to add some watercoloring onto this piece. So you can also use like a water brush, but I'm just using a regular paintbrush. Okay, I'm just going to randomly add some color. Okay, so as you can see, I don't really have like a specific technique for this watercoloring. I just take my paintbrush and I just randomly start to add some color where I want it. So I'm actually looking forward to online card class watercolor for card makers, and there are two reasons for that. Number one reason is because I just like to learn and I really love watercoloring, so I'm really looking forward to it. And the second reason is because I am going to be guest designing for that online card class. So this is the third online card class where I'm guest designing, and I'm so happy. I really, wow. Okay, so the watercolor piece is dry, so I'm going to adhere it on my white Nina card. So I'm going to use some of my regular Tumble Mono adhesive, and this is the stamp runner. Okay, so as you can see, I already added some thread to my card and then also foam adhesive. So again, I'm using the thread. I know, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just really want to use thread on every single card. So I really hope that you aren't sick of seeing me using it the whole time. I will try to not use thread the next time, okay? I promise. Okay, so I'm just going to adhere it. Okay, so you probably guessed it. I'm going to add sequins again, but this time I'm not using the sparkling clear sequins, but instead I'm using the aquamarine sequins and then also one fresh mint sequin. And these are by Pretty Pink Posh, and I'm using glossy accents to adhere them. Okay everyone, that's it for this week's Saturday STEM Day card and video. I will be back on Monday with an updated craft room tour. So, well, I will see you then. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!